To another episode of Go for CEO, the community where we're bringing you zero, that's right, zero startups to 25 million in gross revenue. We're teaching people really what it takes to be a CEO, a founder, an entrepreneur, really kind of bring everything together, the scaling, the operations, the systems, the processes, the leadership, right? And really what it takes to build a business, and hopefully following these businesses over the next 5, 10, 15 years, either on YouTube or some of the other social channels that we have. And really excited today because I have a wealth partner, a gentleman that I've seen grow over the last few years. We've gotten a chance to connect every once in a while and just see some of the branding that he does, some of the intricate parties that he has and is a part of. So excited to bring to you Golden Tree Wealth Partners, Erik Casio, and he's a Latino. So excited to share with you some of the great things. So welcome to the show, Erik.
Hi, thanks, John, for having me on. I feel very special.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, and a lot of people need to know about this stuff. One of the careers that I think I think many of us should look at if you're watching right now is the wealth industry, right? And I won't steal your thunder. I do have a background in it, but I wanted to kind of understand your method to your madness. Can you share a little bit about how you got started in the industry, in the financial industry, and then a couple of the stops, and then we'll kind of flow from there.
Yeah, well, I accidentally fell into the industry, and I started off about 12, 13 years ago. I started off in banking. I started off as a personal banker and worked my way up. I got licensed eventually after 6 to 8 months being a banker. And I realized I actually fell in love with learning how the financial system works and learning how to help individuals and families really grow their wealth. There's a lot of information out there, and a lot of times it's very overwhelming for anyone to kind of capture. So, I fell in love with finance. It wasn't on purpose. It was just by accident. I fell into the industry, and eventually I decided to do my own thing and start my own business. So I love what I do. I'm very passionate, and I love educating professionals, families, business owners. And ever since then, I think it's been my calling to be in the financial world now. So never thought I'd be in finance. If you asked me maybe 12, 15 years ago, I would have never thought I would be where I'm at right now.
That is awesome. Well, it all starts on kind of just nibbling at the toes of opportunity, right? So tell me, did you go from banker in a bank to getting your licenses? What was that process of really becoming a professional in what you're doing?
Yeah, I think it was possibly my first 6 months as a banker / teller. And from there, I guess they liked what I was doing with customer interactions and building a good book. And I've eventually had people come in and wait for me. And from there, they says, hey, let's get you licensed. Let's get you more expanded and more knowledgeable on things. So I believe it was after my 6th month, I became licensed. And from there, I became kind of bumping around between business banker, licensed banker. I've done loan origination through SBA. I've done merchant services. So I gathered a lot of knowledge in the banking industry before I even stepped foot in financial services and financial planning. So that's kind of where it all began. And it just was a kind of like a big ball rolling down the hill, and it just formed into this big thing now. So
awesome. So you found a bit of a niche. So tell me, when you made that decision to become kind of self-employed, right? We all talk about, I lean on Robert Kiyosaki's teachings about ESBI, right? Employee, self-employed, business owner, and investor. So what was that step and some of the things that you needed to structure to go on your own?
I have a funny story. So I was a licensed banker at my branch, and I loved doing partnerships with my financial advisor at the local branch. And one day I'm driving in my pretty much junky Honda Civic, and I park my car. The financial advisor that works with me, I'm used to seeing him with a, with a older Cadillac. And then one day he pulls up in a brand new white Porsche. And here I am parked next to a brand new white Porsche, and I have my junky Honda Civic at that time. Probably has about 157,000 miles on it, and brakes are gone, and everything else is pretty much gone. And I'm like, hey, uh, is that a rental? What's going on with that car? And he's like, yeah, it's just bought it. Keep doing a great job. Keep sending those referrals my way. Uh, you're doing an amazing job, Eric. Just keep doing it. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I'm working for somebody else, and I'm making somebody else lots of money. And I'm here driving my Honda Civic that has 157,000 miles. Brakes are pretty much going to fall apart. And I'm like, okay, there's something's got to give, something's got to change. And that's when I just got inspired to just do my own thing and, take the leap of faith and start a practice. So, I moved into a couple different institutions after that. And this year of all years, I decided to completely step foot off the cliff and start a business called Golden Tree Wealth Partners.
Awesome. So tell me, obviously you have that experience, you have this aha moment. You look at this guy and you're like, wow, my referrals are making him money way over more what you were probably getting paid in the BIPS side of things, right? So, you go through, I think I saw your profile was New York Life, Mass Mutual, and some other institutions. You learned from there. So let's skip to Golden Tree, right? What's the first steps that you actually did to incorporate the business? How did you think about your team? And now you're going to go on your own. I'm sure you built a pretty decent book of business to kind of follow you to this moment. What are some of those structural things so we could teach the community of what you did? Because a lot of people may know the industry to be paid directly as a licensed agent, but you've actually formed a real company out of it and created your own partnership.
Yeah, I mean, going through the motions with many large Fortune 100 institutions I was part of, I learned so much about the industry, about strategy, about how to communicate effectively to your client. That was a big step, and that was a big confidence booster as well, just to go out on your own and step foot. The one thing, though, that no institution really teaches you is how to actually be an entrepreneur, how to be the CEO of your own firm. They teach you how to be an effective employee and be part of a big system. But when it comes to starting your own business, you're on your own, and structure needs to be there, or at least you need to begin some type of structure. So the first thing I actually did was I hired a couple different business coaches because, again, I knew how strategy worked. I know how investments and financial planning works. I know how to talk to my clients, but again, I don't know how to be an entrepreneur. And that was the biggest piece missing. And so my number one move was to hire a couple business coaches that taught me structure and taught me the most effective ways to prospect and give me essentially a blueprint to essentially replicate a good process. So that was one of the first things I did. And the second thing I did is really invest everything into my business. Whether it was for marketing, branding, whatever it was, that was my thing. I wanted to invest 100% and take the leap of faith and bet on myself to move forward. So those were the two biggest things. And of course, this year, it's crazy because this year has been a hectic year, ups and downs and crazy emotions and crazy things happening this year. So it's quite a year to start a business, that's for sure.
For sure. And for those that may see this a year, 2 years, 7 years from now, this is COVID-19 2020, right? So interesting times to start, right? But obviously, you understood kind of the background that you had, the history that you provided to yourself and made that decision. So, with the business coach, Can you share maybe one or two things that they kind of restructured in your mind as how to proceed with your business?
Yeah, I believe in a lot of different industries, including mine in financial services. There's so much competition out there, and 90% of what I do, other financial advisors can do, other financial professionals can do, but it's the 10% that really, that makes me different, and that's how my coaching works. Is how do you make yourself different? How do you use tactical marketing and different ways to help you understand the client versus any other advisor that would do. So the 10% that is different from what I do, that's the reason why my clients hire me. And it comes down to really effective communication and really understanding the needs of all my clients and even suspects. Some people are just not ready to become a client, and that's completely fine.
Yeah.
So there has to be a set process, and there has to be that has to be communicated essentially. So the more effective you are, and I think the biggest thing I've found with my coaching is relearning listening skills and communication skills, and help and really understand your client. The other thing would be tactical marketing. What are things that you can do that make yourself different? So that's a lot of things that will attract more business to your practice. So those are probably the two biggest things right now.
Well, I could say one thing. I've always seen you dressed to the T's, man. So you're very sharp. Dry. I wore a little green for you, so but for the green tree. So help me understand. One of the things that you just said is, the differentiating part, right? What are the systems that you have right now? So marketing, did you start to budget a certain amount? Can we share a little detail on that? Like, hey, every deal that I do, let's just say it's $1,000 of commission. Do you separate 30%, 20% for that marketing edge? Do you also do special things to also save money for maybe special birthday send out gifts or events and stuff like that? What are you doing that is that differentiator in that process?
Yeah, I do every time revenues come in. I do oftentimes do anywhere between 20 to 25% of my revenues reinvested in my marketing strategy. And that would include not just marketing, but my development, my personal development, and that goes to mentorship, that goes to other coaches I have. It can go to marketing, anything that will reinvest in my business that makes it, that can generate the next step, the next milestone. So that's what I'm doing. I'm reinvesting a lot of money, and really everything I have in this business. I think my process and how it makes it different is I ask everyone, tell me your story, and I use that as more of like a mnemonic. So I always ask people, what is their current situation? What does that look like right now? What is the timeline in which people want to accomplish certain goals? What are the obstacles that they have seen, or they haven't had the ability to overcome? What's the results of all of that? And then if you continue to do what you're doing and continue the path, what's the impact or what's the yield that's going to generate if you don't change? So the biggest things I communicate to people or to my clients is there's typically 3 different types of investments overall for everything. One is going to be the time it takes. 2 is going to be the change. And 3 is going to be the money. And typically the hardest thing out of those 3 is changing of habits, changing of direction. It could be just being open-minded to a alternative strategy that was never really thought of. So those are the 3 commitments I ask everyone. I said, if you're ready to make those 3 commitments, then we'll work just great. So.
Awesome. I love it. So, and again, you're differentiating yourself for the client. So tell me a little bit about what you structurally set up. So are you an LLC, an incorporation, an S Corp? How did you set yourself up structurally?
So for this year, I am a sole prop.
Okay.
There's some advantages because my mother company, I guess you can say, I have a parent company.
Mhm.
That actually gives me a direction of where to go. Eventually, I'll probably by the end of this year or next year, I will convert it to an LLC.
Okay.
Um, so as far as just getting started, I just wanted to feel it out as a sole prop. And then I have a couple other things that are put in place for my safety as well. So right now it's a sole prop, but we will be converting to an LLC later on this year, if not the beginning of next year.
Okay. And then do you have any partners right now, or are you looking to create a scalable business where you bring in junior associates per se, or?
Yeah, so the foreseeable future is essentially having staff, admin staff, junior advisors on as well, and eventually, I'd like to be the all in one go to. So eventually, I'll have a tax planning side. Eventually, I'll have an estate planning side on the legal end. So as time goes on, that's why I named it Wealth Partners, is because I want to be the partner overall for everything for you. So we have partners in different areas. Right now, I do have great relationships with, some partners of mine that are in the tax planning side and the legal estate side of things. So it's up to our clients if they want to take that on. But we do give recommendations of who to go to in terms of those different areas of finance.
And are you able to then white label it? What I mean by that is, I mean, is there a differentiation with going through Green Tree Wealth Partners to get to that tax person? Uh, do they see it as this is Green Tree and how you're forming it? Or do they see it more as like, hey, you've acknowledged to your client, I have a partner an associate that has a CPA firm. Are you trying to distinguish it or go through Green Tree?
As of right now, our first year, we are just letting people know that we have relationships with other companies, other businesses that do either tax planning or legal estate planning, um, even mortgage. Let's go as far as people buying their first homes or refinancing. We have preferred relationships with other companies, but eventually the goal is to streamline that process under the Golden Tree Wealth Partners umbrella.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So eventually, will you then bring them on staff, or will you bring them as a partnership and have some sort of collaboration with revenues?
As of right now, I don't know that answer yet. We'll kind of foresee it, and when we get to that decision, we'll make that then. As of right now, I couldn't answer that question right now.
Okay, okay. We might have to do go for CO consulting. So,
Exactly.
but no, exciting times. Obviously, it really is a sense of you've gone through the measures of going from banker to learning to having this aha moment. You went through Mass Mutual, through New York Life, through kind of building your brand, right? And again, for a lot of people that are visiting right now, or will see this in the future, the Go for CO mindset is really about creating that brand, right? Creating that understanding of how your business is going to be structured over the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years, right? And Erik is sharing that. He decided, hey, I'm about to go on my own right now as a sole prop, eventually as an LLC. Some of the structural things that he'll be able to take advantage of as having an incorporation, and then extending the types of branches within his partnerships that he'll have to exceed more revenue. So tell me, just maybe take a slight step back. Throughout the years, you built all these client relationships. Do they pretty much come with you every single time, or how did that work when you now went to Green Tree? And I know you have a parent company per se, but I would think that's the broker dealer, I'm assuming.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So how has that transition been of bringing on your clients, or are you once again starting brand new because of maybe some non-competes or something like that that you may have challenges with?
Yeah, one of the challenges is having a non-compete from my previous institution I worked with. So that's been a little bit of challenge, but honestly, my business has been growing either way. I've been acquiring new clients left and right. So you obviously with clients, with older clients, sometimes they don't even care. They want to move and they want to follow you wherever you go, which is completely fine. I'm not obligated to reach out purposely, but if they want to come, then that's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a non-compete disclosure in which I have on one institution. So, but it's continuing to grow. Otherwise, there's no excuse. So just continue to grow your book of business and continue to help individuals, business owners, and families.
I love.
One of the things that I try to convey is really give them more information about who I am as an individual, my value system, and when people know that you're genuine, that you're really opening up to them and showing them what kind of person, what kind of individual you are, people want to feel like you care before they see what you know, right? So that's one of the things I also focus on and give my story and give what I find value and give them an idea of who they're working with. So that's what I like to do.
No, I appreciate that. I will say the one thing that maybe comes to mind as a follow-up question to that, how do you deal with right now? I know it's you probably never, or you haven't been in a situation where you've been salaried, right, as an employee for a long time. As a banker, you were, right, and had that base and everything. But you learned kind of that entrepreneurship, that self-employed mentality that if you don't kill, you don't eat, right? So how are you balancing that so that our community can learn that with an industry where you're going cold turkey? Now you have this NDA where you got to not be able to specifically talk to previous clients. You've lost some of that residual income. So how are you balancing that attitude of, hey, let me get to know my clients, let them understand who I am, but then that could be a long sales cycle, right? It could take 2, 3, 4 meetings. How are you balancing that, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, typically I go through and how I close the sales cycle down is I really try to understand or get a good understanding on the phone even prior to our first meeting, whether it be on Zoom. Nowadays, majority of my meetings are via Zoom.
Yeah.
Before it was in person, but before I meet with them on the first meeting officially, I try to get a good grasp of what they want to find out, what's going to make a very effective meeting, and try to get a small picture of what their situation is. So this way, neither one of us is wasting time. I obviously don't want to waste anyone's time. Neither I don't want to get any time wasted either. But it's essentially I create commitments either on the phone as almost like a screener, you can say, and that process that I have really cuts down the sales cycle because now on the phone, even before I get to the first meeting, I have a commitment. I know exactly what they want to talk about. I know I actually have an agenda that I talk about all over the phone so that when we actually do meet in person, it's not just up in the air, unorganized. We actually are pretty structured in our first meeting. So that, again, I've learned from my coaches, and it has dramatically decreased the sales cycle for me rather than me going through a meeting and then chasing and chasing and chasing. So that's been pretty effective for my business right now.
So you've, in a sense, kind of created contracts, right? And being able to ask for commitment, ask for the opportunity, and then they drive to the next level. That's awesome. I love that. So when you think about scaling, what might be the division of Green Tree that you want to grow into first, outside of your own personal practice of financial services and advising? What would be the first channel that you feel most valuable that would help grow Green Tree?
Well, I think the caution is not to move so quickly. The right thing I believe is to master your practice, master your process with all clients, and it's a balancing game because you also have to schedule your reviews on top of acquiring new clients. So you have to be very, very careful with your time and how you're managing. For typically for what I do is I pick 3 days, 3 to 5 days in the quarter, and that's where I pick and I actually do all my reviews for each quarter on a simple 1 week, and it narrows down that so that this way it's streamlined. So the biggest thing I try to do is structured.
Sorry, I got the home situation. Give me one second. It's COVID days, right? So sorry about that. So you're streamlining your process and going from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's crucial not to move so quickly into other divisions of things. Like I mentioned, I do want to expand eventually with other divisions of tax planning and legal estate planning. But before I even get to that point, I want to make sure that my process is mastered with all my clients. I hire admin and staff that know the process. They're down patent to it. So that's the number one thing right now is mastering our process with all of our clients and having structure. From there, then we talk about expansion and going into different things that complement financial planning right now. So I think that's the key right now.
How about then if there's not a service that you maybe are delineating to the next level, is there scaling that you want as it sounds like administrative is kind of the best next move more than bringing on like a junior advisor?
It all depends. I do have a business partner that helps with training and development for our advisors that we bring in. So he's been a dramatic help for me, and it's good because we actually complement each other. We're different enough to where everything that I'm not so good at, he's excellent at, and vice versa. So we have different personalities as well, which really complement each other. So I found a very great business partner, and he's helping out. He's a big part of the success of Golden Tree Wealth Partners. And I believe having someone key in your business that you can turn to really makes things a lot easier.
Awesome. I love it. So let me ask maybe a little bit of a nitty gritty question here, right? So what do you think an advisor in your position, having had some brands like Mass and New York and all these experiences they have, now going on your own Golden Tree brand under an umbrella for now, what do you think it takes in capital to have in reserves for this first year or two? What would you say, without necessarily knowing your capital, but what would you say is a good capital amount if somebody's looking to start their own financial agency?
Yeah, I mean, when I was in other institutions, when I did recruiting for brand new agents and advisors, I always told them, hey, there is some ramp up time. I would believe that the minimum would be a 6-month ramp up time before you start hitting some consistencies. So at the very minimum, I would say when you're into this business brand new, you'd probably want to have at least 6, even 8. Sometimes I would even say 12 months reserve, not to scare anyone to come in our business, but at the worst cases, I would say that's about the time frame, 6 to 8 months of reserves. That will make you at least comfortable enough. Some people, they only need a month. I've seen many advisors make their salary in the first 6 weeks in business. So those are a little far in between, but it's possible. But I'd say on average, at least 6 to 8 months worth of reserves. This way, you're not freaking out about not getting, a non-salary and commissions on there. So.
Well, I would assume a rich uncle in those rare cases maybe passed away, left a couple million, and they annuitized it or something, right? Brought in annuity at 6% or whatever. So neat. Okay. So look, I mean, obviously, one of the things that is very evident is you're very process oriented. You've shared kind of the way that you process through your clients. You've shared the way that you've been able to process of having a business coach, and then next, how you're thinking about the way that you're going to grow your business, either through administrative, through advisories, through business coaches and stuff like that. So tell me, is there anything that you are looking at technology-wise that maybe a new upgrade in the future, or investments that you're looking to do within the structure of your business?
Yeah, I am investing heavily into technology right now. That's for my website that's out there, goldenTreeWealth.com. I have people that are beginning an SEO, or actually, I'm not. Again, I don't even know too much about technology. So, search engine optimization. I just learned that this year.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay.
I hired a team that do SEO for Golden Tree Wealth Partners. I've used obviously technology with Zoom. I've used different technologies in terms of drip marketing campaigns. LinkedIn is a big part of prospecting for me. So social media outlets, knowing how to communicate on social media is way different from communicating over the phone.
Sure.
And I've learned that the hard way. So everything is a learning experience. Even emails that attract people to open up the emails. That's another form of unique communication. Again, you can't just take one strategy of communication and just layer it across all the fields. It's very unique. It's what I'm finding out is there's different ways to do different media outlets and communication outlets. So I'm using technology to help with that and to really, we have all this technology, but we're dehumanizing ourselves because we're glued to our screens, we're glued to our phones. So how do you humanize technology? And that's what I'm trying to learn and do right now. That's the biggest challenge right now.
Pattern interruption, right? So get someone snapped off of there, right? And I've seen some stuff that you're doing. Obviously, I'm sure you're venturing into, as you get this SEO mastered with that partnership of the marketing group. You got videos that can be different. I've learned some of the text messaging videos. I'll literally record myself in the businesses that I have, and I'll send a text when I've been getting ghosted. I'll send a text video message, and it's amazing. I've seen some greater percentages of answers almost immediately, because now they're seeing my face, and they're saying like, hey, they kind of feel bad that they've either ghosted me or they haven't responded, whatever, all that stuff. So it's an amazing thing. So I will say, the one thing that we end our podcast here with is the go for CEO. So what C is customer experience, what E is employee engagement, and what O is operational excellence. So if you don't mind, I know that right now on the employee side, we kind of may skip that one over, or maybe even get some insights on what you prospectively look at that to be with administrative or whatever. But can you share one or two great ideas that you're starting to develop or you have in your mind of how you differentiate yourself with customer experience, for one?
Yeah, I believe that the more you can show people who you are and what type of genuine person you want to be or you are, when people know when you're genuine and you have passion of what to do or what you're doing, if you can show that to your audience, I believe people attract to that, right? And that's what makes you different, is because when they figure out that you actually care about them and that you actually are very passionate of what you're doing, people want to work with individuals like you, as long as you can portray that, right? So the more, again, it goes back to the more you can humanize yourself. You don't have to be perfect. I did my first rounds of videos and they were far from perfect, but they were effective because, it was not perfect. And people can relate, because if you're too clean, and sometimes I've learned this too, if you're too clean and cut, if you look too perfect, that's not relatable.
Authentic. Yeah, 100%.
It's not relatable. So the one big thing I've learned this year is really show what you care about, show your value system, and show you genuinely, and show that you actually do have a passion to what you're doing, and people will attract to that. People will connect with you. That's the biggest thing I've learned this year, is you don't have to be perfect, because no one out there is perfect, but when they see that you are trying, you're passionate, and you are genuine, it's going to work. So
Love it.
that's the biggest piece of advice I can tell you. Um, as far as the the business side of things, it's always great to have a process and a system down that you can replicate. When you can replicate a process, you can pretty much have everything in line. If you don't have a process, if you don't have something that you can replicate on a daily basis, it's gonna be hard. You're gonna be spinning your wheels, and you're gonna be driving yourself crazy, essentially. So have a process down. Have even if it seems like, I would tell you, even personally, you have a personal habit and you stick to that routine, that regimen. Do the same thing for your business, and it will run smoother and smoother every single day.
I love it. Yeah. So, I mean, you went through customer experience, then you jumped there to operational excellence. Any view on just, I know that we talked a little bit about kind of your scaling side, but any things that you're thinking about to be a little bit more special, why people would want to join Green Tree as, um, in many ways, you're going to bring on administrative, so they'll be your employees, and some junior advisors will be independent contractors probably. But any thoughts on that?
Yeah, speaking for me, I used to be an employee. So one of the things that I would say is really always communicate your vision, communicate what you're striving to do and be, and include those employees to be part of that vision, part of your business. Um, Make them care about the business and the alignment and the vision that you want to shoot for, because people want to be part of something bigger than themselves. So the more you include your employees on your vision and what you want to accomplish, I believe the better buy-in, or the more buy-in you're going to get from your employees. And obviously, take ownership and really get to know your employees and see what their struggles are, and understand them. I believe that's what creates a lot of loyalty, and I believe that's what creates more hard work and effort from your employees. So that would be I guess, my advice on that kind of thing.
No, great insight. Great. I follow a guy named Ed Milet who I may butcher his actual depiction of it, but he talks about, you as a leader, your vision has to be so big that people can fit inside of it, right? When your vision is this big, very limited people can fit in it. But when it's huge and you understand that you have a big vision and a big want and a big desire, then people can start to fit in it and they feel comfortable. It's kind of like that comfort zone, and then they could start to flourish in their vision, right? So awesome, Erik. I really appreciate that. So, well, look, brother, anything else that you want to kind of share with the Go for CEO community? You ventured off on your own. You're making it happen. I'm definitely going to be a supporter. Any other final comments that you want to share?
Now, I love connecting with new people all the time, and one of the biggest things I always believe in is uh, givers get what they want. So I'm a big giver. If anyone wants to connect with me, not just from a client perspective, but maybe a collaboration, or just someone that can be a soundboard. Being a business owner, especially a solo business owner, is very lonely. And a lot of times we just need to reach out and talk to other entrepreneurs to get some ideas and really motivate us. I mean, this being an entrepreneur is like ups and downs in your mind. So lots of emotion, lots of stress and anxiety that can be part of it. So you want to have a support system, a professional support system, I would say. So reach out. You can find me. You can go on my website, goldentreewealth.com. You can reach out and email me at ecasio@financialguide.com, or simply give me a call, shoot me a text, 847-409-0326. That's my direct line.
I love it. I love it. Well, hey, thanks so much, Erik. And Go for CEO community, you've learned today really what it takes to start building your own financial practice. You might think about going with Golden Tree and Erik's leadership, or finding a way to just connect with Erik, learn from him, and really just understand kind of what he did to prepare mentally, prepare understanding the operations and understanding where he needed to go. I think a golden nugget, if you repeat this, view this again, is that he went for mentorship first. It was a huge part of his business of how he decided to go finally on his own. So Thanks so much, Eric. Appreciate your time. And hey, good luck with everything. And what we'd like to do at Go for CO is every 6 to 12 months is reconnect with you, find out where you're at. Maybe you've scaled, maybe you start to grow, all that type of stuff. Excited to see that next level. We'd love to chronicle your journey with Green Tree Wealth Partners. So we look forward to seeing you again on the Go for CO community.
Hey, thank you for having me, John.
Awesome.